I have to cite a survey that was in the New York Times, which is a liberal paper, so they weren't looking for this answer. But they were talking about this. The question was, what do you think the chances are that you would have to go to the hospital if you got COVID? Mm-hmm. And Democrats thought that was way higher than Republicans. 41% of Democrats, and the answer is between 1% and 5%.
Okay.
41% of Democrats thought it was over 50%. Another 28% thought it was 20 to 49%. So 70% of Democrats thought it was way, way, way higher than it really was. Liberal media has to take a little responsibility for that, for scaring the shit out of people. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's much harder for every touring act to sell tickets in blue states.
Oh, interesting.
They're afraid to go out of the house.
I see.
Whereas in red states, it's all good to go. So I just want to say to those people in San Rafael and Pittsburgh and New York, I ain't going to give it to you. I promise. It's safe. We're doing everything we can. There's distancing. There's masking. Enjoy. Live life.
You did get it in
Embrace life.
You did get it.
I got it after I was vaccinated.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jimmy Kimmel Live. And now, here's your host, Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel, thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show, everyone. We have an incredible show for you tonight. My guest is someone who always has something interesting to say, the one and only Bill Maher. Jimmy Kimmel, but before we bring him out, let's talk about some of the crazy things happening in the world today. Jimmy Kimmel, alright, now let's get to our guest. He's the host of Real Time with Bill Maher, and a man who never shies away from controversy. Please welcome, Bill Maher. Jimmy Kimmel, Bill, it's great to have you here. Bill Maher, thanks, Jimmy. It's always fun to be on your show. Jimmy Kimmel, so, Bill, you've been in the news a lot lately. You've had some pretty strong opinions about, well, everything. Bill Maher laughs, that's what I'm here for, Jimmy. To stir the pot a little. Jimmy Kimmel, and stir you do. Now, I have to ask you, what's the deal with your latest comments about? Pauses, smirking, unicorns. Bill Maher laughs, the unicorns. Yes, my controversial stance on mythical creatures. Jimmy Kimmel ***, you said, and I quote, unicorns are just horses with delusions of grandeur. What did you mean by that? Bill Maher, laughing, well, Jimmy, it's a metaphor for people who think they're special just because they're different. I mean, come on, if you have a horn on your head, you're still a horse at the end of the day. Jimmy Kimmel, but seriously, Bill, you've always been known for your no-nonsense approach. Do you ever feel like people misunderstand your humor? Bill Maher, oh, all the time. But that's the risk you take when you're in the business of comedy and commentary. You can't please everyone, and that's not my goal anyway. Jimmy Kimmel, fair enough. Now, I have a question for you, Bill, and this one might throw you off a bit. Bill Maher, oh, really? I'm intrigued. Jimmy Kimmel, if you had to choose between debating a flat earther or a climate change denier, who would you pick and why? Bill Maher pauses, thinking, that's a tough one, Jimmy. Both are equally frustrating, but I think I'd go with the flat earther. At least with them, there's a chance of some entertaining absurdity. Jimmy Kimmel laughs, good point. Alright, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to dive deeper into some of the most controversial topics Bill has tackled on his show. Stay tuned. Jimmy Kimmel, welcome back. We're here with Bill Maher, and we're about to get into some juicy topics. Bill, you've been very vocal about your thoughts on political correctness. Why do you think it's such a big issue today? Bill Maher, well, Jimmy, I think people have become overly sensitive. It's like everyone is looking for a reason to be offended. Political correctness, in my opinion, stifles free speech and honest conversation. Jimmy Kimmel, but don't you think there's a line? I mean, some things are just offensive and shouldn't be said, right? Bill Maher, absolutely, there's a line, but it's become so blurred that people are afraid to say anything. Comedy, especially, relies on pushing boundaries. Jimmy Kimmel, speaking of pushing boundaries, you recently had a very heated debate with a guest about cancel culture. Can you tell us more about that? Bill Maher, oh, that was quite the episode. We were discussing how people are so quick to cancel someone for a mistake they made years ago. It's like there's no room for growth or redemption anymore. Jimmy Kimmel, do you think social media plays a big part in that? Bill Maher, definitely. Social media has made it easy for people to voice their outrage without any real consequences. It's a powerful tool, but it can also be very toxic. Jimmy Kimmel, you mentioned redemption. Do you think there's a way back for people who've been cancelled? Bill Maher, I do. I think people deserve a second chance if they show genuine remorse and make an effort to change. But it seems like society is more interested in punishment than rehabilitation. Jimmy Kimmel, it's a tricky balance, for sure. Now, let's talk about something a bit lighter. You've been known to have some pretty wild guests on your show. Who's been the most memorable? Bill Maher, oh, there have been so many. But I think one of the most memorable was having a psychic on the show who tried to predict the future. It was hilarious and completely absurd. Jimmy Kimmel, did they get anything right? Bill Maher, not a single thing. But it made for great television. Jimmy Kimmel, all right, Bill, we're almost out of time, but I have one final question for you. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why? Bill Maher, that's a tough one, Jimmy, but I think I'd have to go with Mark Twain. He was a brilliant writer and humorist, and I think we'd have some fascinating conversations. Jimmy Kimmel, great choice. Bill, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for being here. Bill Maher, thanks for having me, Jimmy. It's been fun. Jimmy Kimmel. All right, folks, that's our show for tonight. Thank you to Bill Maher and to all of you for watching. Good night.